Oh, no, I was going to say, we can go ahead and talk about them now. You want to name some of them?
Well, I'll let you elaborate on them.
Why you got to put me on the spot, John?
I'm only putting you on the spot because you just almost cut me off. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, everybody. It's Quilanda, a.k.a. Q of Q Up Productions.
I'm Jonathan Harris, a.k.a. John of Monarch Mentality Productions.
And welcome to the Elevated Creativity Podcast, where we like to motivate and inspire creatives to take their talents to the next level. So if you're interested in elevating your creativity, stay tuned for today's episode.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Elevated Creativity Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about working on set, part 2.
That's right. So we're going to continue our conversation from last week in which we talked about our experiences working on set. I know last time I spent a lot of time sharing some of my most memorable moments, some of my obstacles, challenges, and some of the great people that we had the opportunity to work with. We also discussed different positions on set. So I know today we're going to dig, I feel like we always say dig deep, but we always digging deep on the show. We're going to expand the list, right, of crew positions that we talked about last time. What else?
Most definitely, we're going to go into navigating your talents into the film industry and just the entertainment industry, period. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned and we can dive right on in.
All right. Well, let's just go ahead and get into it, John.
Hey, let's do it.
All right. So I know one of the things that we mentioned briefly last time was we talked about different resources. So we're going to take it back a little bit to how to get your start with working on set, right? So say you just moved to a new town. And for those of you who may be new listeners, we are based in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the Hollywood of the South. And that's what they call it. And so we're going to be speaking a lot from our perspective, from our region. So, of course, if you're on the West Coast, if you're in California, or if you're in New York. And, I mean, I guess we should also mention on top of all of this, we're in a pandemic right now. So
most definitely.
The world is having to navigate things differently. But the way a lot of the resources that we have listed are digital, using technology, which, of course, we can still use while we're in the pandemic. But we want to just dig into some of the resources that you guys could use if you're interested in getting hired to work on set. Also, say you don't have one of the traditional, you don't want to work in one of the traditional crew positions, but say maybe you're a hairstylist or a chef or an electrician, but those people are definitely needed on set too, right?
Most definitely. And we'll kind of elaborate on certain platforms that kind of help you find work in the industry, and that's the entertainment industry, period. So we definitely get into that, and that's with, like we say, film, music, etc. So I was
gonna say we can go ahead and talk about them now. You want to name some of them?
Well, I'll let you elaborate on them.
Why you got to put me on the spot, John?
I'm only putting you on the spot because you just almost cut me off. You know what I'm saying? So hey. Ooh, that was a clean cut, but we good. What I'm saying?
We gonna keep it rolling. And just so y'all know, because we like to be authentic, John and I have set the goal to keep the show running, to keep the episode flowing, no matter what. So if we stumble across our words, if we get a little choked up, we made the commitment to keep it going because the show must go on.
Most definitely. Show must go on.
Now, I want to preface this with saying this episode is sponsored by Anchor, but it's not sponsored by any of the resources that we're going to list out. So we're not going to go too much into detail because we're trying to get those coins. But we will, because of the platform and the purpose of the show, we're going to list out some of the resources that you guys can look into to get some job opportunities for working on set.
Okay. One of the platforms you could use for a job opportunity on set would be Indeed. And you can find a lot of positions and a lot of work on that platform.
And the cool thing about Indeed is it's not just entertainment industry specific. So Indeed is a good platform because it's not entertainment industry specific. For people who have been job hunting before, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Indeed because you can find a job in almost any field. And so even in the creative industry, you have producers who may post job postings, crew positions on Indeed as well. And so like most job hunting sites, you create a profile and list out your talents and then the positions that you want to be applied for.
Another platform you could use, especially being in the state of Georgia, Atlanta preferably, is Georgia.org. So Georgia.org has a lot of positions available for film, TV cast, crew postings, and also, a hotline to actually, just dig a little more in depth with certain positions.
Right. And you can call the hotline to find out about different projects going on. So it's pretty much like the state website for everything Georgia, but they have a film portion of the site. So if you're interested in the productions that are going on, again, we are based in Atlanta, but they'll post like if they're filming something down in Savannah, if they may be in Columbus, Georgia, or wherever in the state. A lot of times the production companies will post that. So they'll say, hey, we're going to be looking for gaffers and assistant directors and production assistants and all of these things. And so they'll have links that will take you to those specific production company websites.
Another platform that's I'm sorry, but another platform that we can actually use is Backstage. And Backstage is good for film, crew, and actors. And
and Backstage is similar to Backstage, Production Hub. There's a few more, and you can always, I know we say Google every episode.
Yeah,
right?
We're not sponsored by Google as well, but
not yet.
Definitely Google.
But you can Google different websites like that, where most of the time, because I've done postings on these sites as well, you can create a profile, and pretty much like any job hosting site, you'll list out your resume, your talents, and then you'll kind of be entered into a pool. But, so this is one way, but like me and Jon mentioned before, the number one way, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of about who you know. So we're just also providing this as, like, say you move to a new town or you don't necessarily know anybody working in the industry yet, but you want to kind of, put yourself out there, and always call. Like, I know these days a lot of people don't like talking on the phone, but, don't underestimate the power of picking up the phone, like how Jon mentioned that Georgia hotline, and speak to somebody in one of the production offices. And I think the biggest platform, or multiple platforms, like Jon mentioned last week, is social media. Follow those hashtags, set life or film life for producers. If you're an actor, a lot of times producers will post casting opportunities on their social media pages. They'll post crew opportunities, because sometimes those positions open up in the middle of production. Like, it may change from weekend to weekend, the different positions that are needed for a production.
Most definitely. And social media, to elaborate on that, social media is a big thing because you actually get a chance to see visual. So sometimes you want to look at somebody's work, you can check out their social media in multiple platforms. It doesn't have to just be Instagram and Facebook. Even their YouTube, they have a link in their bio. They have the YouTube channel. Check out their work. Check out some of the stuff. And if you're satisfied with the quality of their work, or even the production value, then you can say, okay, this might be a little something for me. And even on entry level positions, it's always good to get a good start. So it doesn't matter if it's something small, something big. The experience is also always a good deal,
Right. And even just thinking back, and again, we're going to tie a lot of this to last week because this is technically a sequel, it's part 2. But to piggyback on what Jon said last week, when you're building your portfolio, people don't necessarily know, if the previous project you did was paid or not. So, you don't necessarily have to say that. So you could have worked for free. The next project that you get, they may not necessarily know that. So as long as you're building that experience, because your experience is invaluable. Well, it's valuable, but you can't put a price on it. But y'all get what I'm trying to say. It's experience is like the best thing, right?
Yeah, it's like hands on with it. So experience is a good thing, and like I said, it's all about the experience, and it's also about the quality of the work. Because now, if you are even building the reel, you want to build, your portfolio, you can actually have a visual to show, or a visual or something that you say, okay, well, I did this, and I was this position on this set, I was this position, whatever. And if the quality look good, hey, it's always a plus,
Right. Exactly. I know, Jon, you keep looking at me like I'm crazy. I got a frog in my throat, and so I'm trying to drink the tea to
I'll just make sure it was a frog. I want to say, I'm just
John made this tea, so
man, tea
on
plus
that
I'm
note.
just currently caffeinated.
So I want to go back to, again, the purpose of this show, right? We like to tie everything together. So this show is all about elevating your creativity, elevating your creative talents, monetizing your talents, growing in your gifts. And so, of course, the first few episodes have focused mainly on production, film production, media, because that's our area of expertise. John and I are film producers, he's a visual artist.
Most
I'm a
definitely.
writer and director. John has also done some assistant directing work.
And she's a visual artist also. You know, I'm an illustrator, but, you know, as far as visuals and telling her story, she's an artist as well. So
I'll
most
take that.
Yeah.
And so for these few episodes, again, they really kind of focused on working on set, but we know we may have some other listeners out there who have creative talents in other areas. And eventually we are going to have other episodes. We're going to have guests on to talk about their past and their industries, but we want to kind of tie that in as far as with some of those creative people like hairstylists, chefs,
Makeup artists, music artists, electricians, everything. So if you have a gift or a talent, is you have options. You know what I'm saying? So even when you look at yourself, even as a hairstylist, you know what I'm saying, you could be doing hair or working in a salon, or whatever position you have. So now when you get into the film industry, somebody has to do hair on set. If you're a makeup artist, makeup is done for men and women on set. So you can always get levels to expand your talents. You don't always have to be a director, a producer, or just have a creative talent in that aspect. You have multiple positions. If you a chef and you know how to cook, and they have craft services on set. They have catering options. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, big productions, small productions, people can't leave. You got minimum of 8 hours to 10, 12 hours, even longer on set. Then it's like, okay, cool. You need food there, craft services, or whatever. So,
and craft services is usually the best part. That's the best part of working on set is the snack table, the meal.
Yeah, so especially like I done been on some sets, and craft services were busting. I'm talking about, it was the bomb.com. So
and I remember a little funny story, even though I know John is going to be telling most of the stories. But John, do you remember when we were working on, I'll go ahead and say the production, The Single Life, season 1.
Okay.
So the budget was a little bit smaller. And John, bless his heart, as one of the producers, kind of pulled me to the side, because I was like, I'm executive producer, I'm thinking budget. So we were doing the $5 Little Caesar pizzas like almost every night. And so, they would ask me, okay, Q, what are we doing for lunch today? What are we doing for
we're
dinner?
not sponsored by Little Caesar, so $5.com. I mean, it's still good in the hood, you know what I'm saying, with the $5 Little Caesar thing. But
right, because we got like 20-something people on set, so I'm doing the math. Okay, shoot, we can get 5 pieces, $5. That's $25, throw some lettuce on the side or something. And eventually one night...
Pizza and lettuce. I had to pull her to the side so quick. I kind of whispered her name. I'm like, Q, come here for a second. Q, she's like, what? No. Does that make a big second? Hey, we can't do no pepperoni. No $5 pepperoni or no cheese. Y'all got one cheese piece and all this pepperoni. A lot of people don't eat pork and this and that, and they tired of pizza.
They were. I think the actors had probably, been voicing their opinion in the crew. And I get it now, especially when you're talent and eating greasy, especially, no offense, but Little Caesar is not the best option. So I had to take that into consideration. Like, okay, my people was tired of pizza. So we switched it up. We did sub sandwiches.
We switched it up in a lot of ways. You could be creative. If you were a chef, you could be creative. Like,
but see, we didn't have a chef on set. We would have benefited from having a chef doing craft services, but we had the producers handling craft services on that project.
We had some creative people. Because I'm gonna tell you, wait, we're not gonna go into that. That was funny. Subway was a good deal too, at the time. But it's all about presentation. Now you could do this when Subway had the $5 deals, $5 foot loans. Mm-hmm. So here we go. At the time when you say, okay, you can either do $5 Little Caesar pizza, or you could just switch it out and do $5 foot loans. Now the main thing of it is, I ain't gonna tell you how we did it, but we kind of, the presentation was what made it work. We presented it as a platter. We had everything cut up nice, presented. The sides were on the sides, as far as like pickles, lettuce, everything like that. Had a platter and everything. And also, too, we had them multi-bag of them chips. So we had chips, assortments of like, drinks, beverages, water, juices, little snacks, crackers, or whatever. So the presentation, and it keep the morale going on set. But we'll dive into another position, even for like musical artists. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, and that would come more so on the post-production end of things. So once the production is wrapped and you're editing, the music is what makes or break a project.
Definitely.
One of the biggest compliments that we got for the single Life and A Time for Love was the music. Yeah. And what we did as independent producers, and shout out to Jennifer Dorsett, I call her my A&R person because she was on it. Instagram was her go-to. She was on Instagram looking up independent artists, and I remember we would have nights where we would sit down, listen to their music, and me as a writer, I would listen to the artist, and I'm like, yes, I like it, I love it. And we would reach out to the artist, and 9 times out of 10 they said yes. Of course, some of them had to talk to their management, of course, and get approval, and we had to go through the legalities, but for the most part they were excited to have their music featured in our project. So it's a win-win, because from our end we got music for our project, and from their end that's promotion for them.
Most definitely. Cross promotion is big. And like, to elaborate on the music artists, whether it's a web series, whether it's a film short, whether it's a feature film, like you said, music and the soundtrack is dope. You could be a producer. I don't care if you're making beats off Fruity Loops or you're doing beats in your mama basement. You know what I'm saying? It's even positions where you have scoring. So you could take your, scoring is like, the feel and the sound of the music. So it might be certain scenes, and it might not have an actual, like a song with actual lyrics and vocals, but you might just need certain sounds or certain tones, or you want to kind of like express yourself where it might be a sinister scene, and you had that real low kind of like,
creepy music,
creepy kind of little feel or whatever. So you could kind of put yourself in position. So elevating creativity and to just get into that is so many ways to, I want to say, slide in the door. You know what I mean? It's like, if they're not letting you in, make yourself a key, make yourself an asset, and unlock the door, walk on in. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we're going to kind of go into electricians, because you said that, and I want to see how this electrician's going to work in there, though.
And you know what's funny? Electricians came to mind because recently I had a light installed in my house, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy, he overheard me on a phone conference. I was working on a production, and he was like, "You make movies?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the simple way." People say, "Oh, you make movies?" I was like, "Yeah, I make movies." And I asked him, I was like, "Why? Do you work on set too?" And then he was like, "Nah, I'm an electrician." And I'm like, well, electricians are needed on set because there's lighting that needs to be done. And a lot of times, like, yeah, you have lighting professionals, but some of those people have background, in being an electrician or installing lights and things like that, because you have to know what you're doing, especially if you're working on location, right? So say like you guys rented out a house and you need to change the light fixtures for your production. Well, if you don't have any experience, I know you can look on YouTube. How to change a light fixture.
Let me tell you something. YouTube is what's up. I like YouTube, but you got your good people on YouTube and you got your bad people on YouTube. Everybody don't have, some people have agendas. They got agendas, they got certain motives. So you look at them like, how do I do this, and that? And part of their agenda is to see you get electrocuted. You know what I mean?
God.
So yeah, you ain't got to always, YouTube is good. But make sure you look at the reviews on YouTube.
It's best to go with the professionals that know what they're doing. Most
definitely. And I get what you're saying as far as electricians, because I had a recent experience on set that we were kind of filming in the hood a little bit too. We was Southwest Atlanta, too strong. We was over there at a church, and it was a little local church, and none of the sockets were working. So they was like, y'all, we got a fuse box or whatever. And it's like, the church, you know, it was a little small little church, but when we went to go look for the fuse box, we walked downstairs or whatever. Shoot, I thought we were about to play the horror movie. I thought I was in a movie. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm saying? I walked down there. We opened up the fuse. I was like, when was the last thing we were over there? Cobwebs, whatever. I thought a hand was about to reach out and grab me. It was crazy. I was like, man. And then I'm clicking on stuff. I hear stuff sizzling. I'm like, man, I'm not like that. I ain't getting paid enough to get electrocuted on set. But to make the long story short, a lot of the fuses wasn't working. Some of the stuff wasn't working. So we actually had to use one of the guys. He actually brought like a mobile generator. You know what I'm saying? So we hooked the generator up. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of got everything done because we had some powerful lights on set. That drew a lot of power. So,
and that actually happened to me in college one time when we were working on my student film, and I think we like blew a socket in one of the dorm rooms because we had so much stuff plugged up. So you got to be careful. And before we wrap up that part of the dialogue, one last thing I want to say. From my experience, it's good to have, and I don't even know, I guess you can call this person maybe like a producer or whatever, but I feel like it's always good to have a person that just knows stuff. Like, you know how there's some people that just know, it seems like they know how to do everything, or they're very knowledgeable about anything. I've worked on some projects where we've had people like that on set where they had to do like makeshift tables at the last minute, and they're like, oh yeah, I have a carpentry background. Or people that were in the military that are familiar with weapons. And John was in the military, but he knows weapons.
I'm gonna tell you. She's saying this. I thought she was talking about me for a second because.
But you are one of those people. John is definitely one of those people where he can step in. Pat you on the back. You know, if a female actress has a hair out of place, John will come. Hold on, let me get you. He'll fix the hair. John knows cars. We had a production where the actor didn't know how to drive. We didn't know that until he got behind the wheel.
Of my car. I was like, yeah, man. It was like, yeah, cool. You can drive the car. He was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's cool. He went from drive to he put it all with like, it's at first, second, third. I said, hey, buddy. Whoa.
Thankfully, we were only in a parking lot.
Yeah, man. I said, okay.
And then there was also a part where the actor, because a lot of times actors are supposed to do things that they may not know how to do in real life. So remember, he was supposed to change the oil. And so he lifted up the hood and he like... And so John kind of had to step in like, okay, look, man, this is what you do. So I just say all that to say it pays to have somebody.
Okay, listen, okay.
Shout out to Benjamin Welch. We love you, Ben. I had to shout him out. Ben know we love him. He played Jason in A Time for Love. We only shout out the people that know it's real love. We love you, Ben.
I was going to tell another story, but...
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Now I want to know.
No. She telling all the story. Anyway, moving forward, it's fun. We're gonna tell another story here.
All right, let's move on to some more positions. Some more crew positions that we didn't get to last time. Were you okay, John? You turning red?
No, it's just funny. Come on, let's keep going.
So gaffers, cinematographers, grips, sound engineers, and editors. So a lot of times when you're on set or you see behind the scenes, you just see like a bunch of guys. Most of the time they're wearing black. They got the belt with all the different colored tape around their waist. You know, they may be carrying a clipboard or they got the earpiece in. And it's like, what are these people doing? Right? And so a lot of times those people are gaffers, which are like the lighting technicians, the lighting people we talked about. Cinematographer or the director of photography or first camera assistant, second camera assistant. Those are the people that are actually, the director of photography is working the camera. He or she is setting up the shots, deciding how exactly they want to film it. You know, they're talking directly with the director. And then like John mentioned last week, you have the first assistant director, who is most of the time the person that's yelling at everybody, you know, that's calling quiet on set, action, where's this, we need this, 5 more minutes. Most of the time that is the AD, the first AD. Mm-hmm. Then you have grips. So those are kind of the guys, whenever the cameraman or the lighting technician or the sound person needs something, they kind of step in, like if they need sandbags to hold the bottom of the, and I'm not first on the
if they
technical things.
for grip, if you need sandbags, you need a lens change, you need to have everything on point. So when you have your lens kit, say lens kit or wherever you keep the lenses at, you need a 50 millimeter, or you need a 24 millimeter, or you need you need certain different equipment. Grip is right
and
down
batteries. That's the one
yeah.
thing you're gonna hear all day, every day. You're gonna need battery changes.
So lingo on the battery, you know what I'm saying, depending on what kind of batteries you have, they call them bricks. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the trap boys, I'm joking. But yeah. So, if they say, okay, how many bricks you got? Say, okay, I got 3 bricks in my pocket. So 3 bricks would be 3 batteries. So if this one it's getting low, we add 15%, and it's about to drop down or whatever. Let's go on. When we cut, we're gonna do a change this battery, and go ahead, grip person, go put the other battery on the charger, keep another battery on your pocket. So you want to at least have 3 or 4 batteries. When you're shooting with different cinema cameras, Black Magics, Reds, those batteries, those cameras use a lot of juice.
And the monitors. Don't forget about the monitors too, because you may have 2 or 3 monitors going, because the DP may have a monitor, director may be in another room watching a monitor that's being ran by batteries. So again, there's a lot of equipment and things that are on set. And if you've never worked on set before and it's your first time, it can be a little intimidating.
Most definitely.
But you can do it. Just watch YouTube videos,
We're not gonna keep saying watching YouTube videos.
Or listen to this podcast.
Most definitely. Listen
or watch the podcast on YouTube. Because we on YouTube. They can watch us to learn. Like we're teaching them now.
Yeah. And also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're going to actually have a lot of behind the scenes on set, so you'll be able to see what we actually do. Sound is an important thing with film. Sound, and not just the musical part of the sound. You can have a great quality looking film visually, and it looks visually appeasing, visually amazing. And if the sound is muffled, chopped up, it just does something. You know what I mean?
And I've actually come across some independent films, like, because there's so many out there now. Like, they got them in Redbox, they got them on Hulu, Amazon. And I've pulled up some, and it's like, okay, this looks good. And then as soon as the actors start talking, and then you hear the dialogue, and it's like, ooh, this sounds bad. And a lot of times it can turn you away. So, like, your audience member or potential audience member may be interested in watching a movie, but if the sound is just so bad, they're probably not even going to watch it. And so that goes back, because there's only so much fixing audio you can do in post-production. So you want to make sure that the sound person on set knows what they're doing.
So that's what we were talking about, a professional position. So like when you're doing sound, and also like people who doing the mixer. So if you're doing the mixer, you want to make sure your levels on the mixer is not too high. Make sure you got certain channels. So if you're running sound, is a lot of things that go on. Now, when you're doing film, let's kind of like elaborate on sound and how film actually works. The film camera, what is recording, the visual, usually only picks up visual. So when you're looking at something, it's only going to pick up visual and it's not going to pick up actual sound. So you have 2 different devices. So a person who's doing sound and actually have a mixer, they have another external device, whatever recording equipment that they use, and it's multiple different equipments, different tools that they use, different things they use to record sound. Sound is recorded separately, and film and the visual is recorded another way. I know Q is going to get into film lingo, and the reason why I'm bringing up both of these 2 things, because one of the key things with the film lingo is slating, and that is the importance of slating because of the sound being separate and also the visual being separate. And if you only just see the visual, the sound has to mix and match with the everything. But I want you to elaborate
Come
on
on, Johnny T University Film School.
Come on now, you know what I'm saying? Elevated, creativity. We got to let these folks know what's going on for real. The visual of the film and audio is separate. So when you're doing the audio is in a separate recording device, and when you're doing film, you filming the visual with the camera.
And that's one of like the most popular roles, because whenever you see like behind the scene videos, you see the guy holding a boom mic like this, and I don't know how they do it, because my arms, I've tried it before, my arms got tired too quick.
Man, if you got a long scene, you gotta have them arms like Popeye. You gotta be ready for it.
And a lot of times the sound person gets in awkward positions because if you're like in a small space and the sound person, if he's holding a boom mic, a lot of times has to be like, sometimes you're like standing in this little tiny corner, you know, and holding a boom mic in all these awkward angles.
Hiding up under a desk. You know, you actually have the lav mics, the lavaliers, and you got them mic'd up. You have the, you know, the boom pole. You kind of recording with the boom, you're recording with different other microphones. It's a lot into that. But we're gonna get into one of the film
Flim flam.
Hey, wow, I slipped on that word. But film lingo, and one of the film lingo things that you hear a lot is slate. And I'm gonna let Q kind of elaborate on what slating is.
Right. So slating it's an object, but it's also a verb. And sorry to be so English grammatical, but it is. So it's like you have an actual slate, which John, I have a slate here. And for those of you who are listening, you can't see the slate, so this would be a good idea to tune into our YouTube channel. But I have a wooden, it's actually a more so wall decal. I mean wall decor.
A prop, yeah.
It's a prop. It's not a real slate. But this is actually the old school slate when they used to use chalk. Now most of the slates are digital or they're dry erase. So like you'll have a dry erase marker. So a lot of times you'll see the AD walking around. They'll have like 3 or 4 different dry erase markers on their hip or in their little fanny pack. And you'll have like the name of the production at the top, the scene name, which take it is. So like you'll have the first AD. Thank you. There you go. I need a pointer. So you'll have the name of the production. You'll have the scene. So, you know, in the script, you have scene 1, which is the first scene of the story. And scenes are rarely ever shot in sequence on set. So one day you could go from scene 3 back to scene 1 all the way down to scene 25. And so it's important for the AD to keep tabs on which scenes that you're filming. And like John mentioned before, the main purpose of the slate is for the editor later in post-production because you're recording the audio and the visual separately. So when you see that slate, if there's no sound, you know, the editor can see it and say, okay, so this is going to be scene 24. Or he may have his own sound, but not the sound he's going to use. But he can look at it before he presses play and know, okay, this is going to be scene 24, but which take is it? And a take, you good, John?
I'm just trying to show these people. One of the biggest things that we're gonna get back into was the actual clapper at the top. The clapper is what syncs the audio with the visual. Right. So, and it's not really called a clapper, but this is what claps at the top.
It's action clap.
Yeah.
But I didn't finish talking about what a take was.
You went from slate road.
I was going through the different things on the slate. Okay, well, we don't have to go through it all because it's not film school per se. But basically, a take is important because that's how many times you're doing the scene. So take 1 is the first time that you're doing that scene. And so that's important because the editor will need to know, okay, which of these takes was a good take? So which part of the audio do I need to actually use? And so basically the assistant director or one of the production assistants will actually slate. So going back to the verb, so if, the director says, hey, I need slate or I need somebody to slate, they need that person to come in and pretty much call it out. Johnny's first day at school, scene 4, take 6, take 6B, action, or roll camera, quiet on set. You hear all of those things being called out. And then, like John said, the clapper will go down. And then, everything is kind of still. Everybody gets quiet. And then the director calls action. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit. Thank you, John. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much in a nutshell. Why you look at me like that? What'd I do? Yeah, me and John beefing today, if you can't tell. I'm just joking. We never beef.
No, we ain't beef.
Just ham and turkey. Okay, so
that was so corny.
Take that how you want.
Shout out to Thanksgiving. That was corny.
Anyways.
Anyway, moving forward. Come on now. So happy holidays, everybody.
It is, by the way, at the time of this recording, we are 2 days away from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so
So,
we're gonna talk about. Well, you already talked about steady and quiet on set. You want to get into like the walkie-talkie life?
Yeah, so the walkie-talkie life. Not all productions will have walkie-talkies on set. Some smaller budget films may not have them. If you only have 2 or 3 people working on set, you really don't even need them. But a lot of times, if you have a bigger crew, and it could be independent project or a big project. A lot of the department heads may wear a walkie-talkie, or if you have a first AD and second AD, and you're filming in different areas, like on location or on set, wherever you are, say the director is outside, but his first AD is inside the house, and they need to communicate to know when the actor needs their cue, when the camera's rolling, all of that stuff. They can communicate that on the walkie.
Most definitely. And just to elaborate on that, like Q was saying, especially depending on the size of the project, if you're doing an external scene outside, or if you're in a location where like you said, if somebody's outdoors and all the cast need to leave, it might be a small indoor area where it's an office scene or something like that, and you have everybody out. So I need to know, when is this person gonna walk in, when this person gonna do anything. So yeah, that's most definitely about walkie-talkies, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, the walkie-talkie on film set, it has its own little language, its own little lingo. So for example, you may hear like 10-4, 10-1, all of those things.
Copy, radio check, make sure walkie-talkie's working good for a radio check. Right. I know I just did a project, and we actually had, it was a pretty big project too. So we actually had 4 city blocks blocked off. We had police escort. We had everything. That was the last project I just did. It's gonna be coming out pretty soon. So I got the actual police officers that I had. I gave them like 4 radios, and I had the main radio. So anytime I needed them to open the street up, so if we had cars coming in, or even if we blocking it off for our actors, because we had like an outside scene, and even then I had to communicate on radio channel 1, radio channel 2, and even on like channel 2 that was communication with the van. So we actually had a 15 passenger van to actually bring the actors from one street, like one block, 3 blocks all the way up. So if I said, okay, I need so and so. So we had like outside tents, changing room. We had makeup out there. We had a full production, and
and that's very important to make sure you're on the right channel, because you want to be able to communicate with who you're designated to communicate with. And if you're on the wrong channel, I mean, that's kind of a
So radio, walkie-talkies and radios are important. So I was saying, that's big. That's big.
Yeah, and just know, if you're granted a walkie-talkie, you're pretty important, because everybody doesn't get walkie-talkies on set.
Most definitely. Yep. this first of all, y'all, hey, I need everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel. These smiles are priceless. Q, you're funny.
No, I'm not. You just call me corny. I ain't forget. All right. So anyway, Jon, I'm excited to hear, because you're a great storyteller. Okay. I know you're a visual artist, but you're also a great storyteller. You're a great audio artist as well.
Appreciate it.
I want to hear about some of your most memorable moments on set, some of your challenging moments. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we talking about memorable experiences. I just kind of keep things vague, and I go into detail. So one of the vague statements would be, actually, like, the successes would be to see the beginning, the start, and the finish of a production. So like when you actually have an idea and you have something that's in your head, and it's just a dream or just something that you want to do, and you see it from the very beginning all the way to the end, is a big success. So like we were talking about positions and everything, and I know we done elaborated multiple times as far as me being a storyboard artist. So even with that, it's like, it's not quite just a traditional storyboard artist. I actually do a lot of things. So people might have me on set, and they need help with even writing. So they writing a story, they coming up with ideas, and okay, this is kind of like the story. So when you're trying to put the visual, you got to make sure everything makes sense. You got to make sure you could really kind of like vividly see this story like actually being played out, especially we talking about film. So it goes from the writing and just listening to like the table read and everybody coming in looking at the scenes, to actually sitting down with the director and the DP, and that was the position we talked about earlier, the director of photography, which is the main cinematographer, videographer, whatever, the title they
camera
want.
Operator.
Camera operator, and the main person. And we sit down with that person. We look at the vision that the director have. Some shots you actually could do. Sometimes the writing of the story is too extreme. So you might say like, oh, I see a person, he coming down and it's a rocket and it's a comet, then it's bang, and it like, okay, what's the budget for this? You know what I'm saying? Your budget look like lunch money, man. We might can't do that, Mm-hmm. So we want to kind of like make sure we cultivate that and still make it, possible or whatever.
So you're basically saying being able to take like a person's vision and their idea from like concept, the mental concept,
make it real,
make it reality. Yeah.
Most definitely. So now we go into before we even do the storyboard, we get with the DP and we get with the director, and we do a shot list. So now we have a shot list, and you got to make sure you know how to decipher these shots. We say, okay, this is going to be a wide shot, this is going to be a close-up, this is going to be this. So you got to be a really creative person to take somebody idea, and they say, okay, a person going to walk in and they're going to do this. What would that look like? So if somebody's saying like, it's gonna be a dark road, this, okay, where's these locations? Have we did any location scouting? Or is it gonna be outside, inside shots, outside shots? Make everything make sense. And to see it to go from the writer, to see it to go from the shot list, and then you take the shot list of each shot from each scene, and even a conversation. And I'm actually upload some storyboards on our YouTube channel too, so y'all kind of get more of a vivid description. But you see it come from all of that in the process to now we're getting ready to film, and it's like, so the pre-production work. And now you do the production work. And then one thing we talked about, even post-production, and getting into that and to see it go from start to finish and actually like see the success where you can just sit back and the work is done and you can enjoy yourself as at a premiere. And one of the biggest successes was when we have those dope, amazing premieres.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself being nervous like when we would have like our premieres? Like, because the thing about a premiere is like you're in the theater or the room, wherever you're doing the screening, with the people that actually worked on the project. And so do you find yourself getting nervous because, especially if it's your first time watching it like fully completed, but you're very hands-on, so I'm sure you've probably seen like different cuts and versions before it gets released to the public, but do you find yourself getting nervous or getting butterflies when you have to sit in a theater and watch your work with other people?
Okay, to elaborate on that, yes, because being an artist, and not just saying a visual artist, I mean just being a creative person, period. You're very sensitive about your stuff. And Erykah Badu said that best. You're very sensitive about your stuff. I worked on a project with Q. It was a project called Time for Love, which was a feature film. And actually this was my first feature film because it was a full feature film, full production. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot, and we went from doing everything from even coming up with like creating the shots. Like me and Q were working like hands-on with a lot of stuff, even like storyboarding and drawing the scenes and drawing out the characters and doing everything to kind of like see it. And Q was we was talking about a person being hands-on set, so I'm not gonna brag, but we're gonna kind of add a little sauce to the soup. You know what I'm saying? One of the things we did was we needed like scoring, we needed sound. So I hollered at a couple of my people that does like music production, and I know they do like beats and tracks or whatever like that. we did that. We brought a certain sound in, even with location. So like if you storyboard an artist and you see and y'all check this film out too. We'll share the link. It's still an actual compelling story, even though it's it has a little age on it. But we actually went and we looked at location. So what about location? What about this? Okay, let's add this location. So it was a scene we shot, and we shot it like in East Lake. Some B-roll shots we got from the internal shots we got it at a school, and the external shots we got it at another school. You know what I'm saying? So me and her got together on that. It was just a lot of stuff. But to go back to what Q said, and to say the nervous part, I actually had a role in the film. So it was a character in the film, kind of like a villainous, a villain type, character, whatever. And I played that role. And it was actually like funny. So she gave me the freedom to actually, hold on, that was funny. She actually gave me the freedom to kind of play around with the character. So she was like, yeah, I kind of want him like this. I want him, kind of like a boss role, but still kind of cool, kind of this. So I said, all right, well, let's play around with it. I said, what do you think about this look? She was like, I think it'd be cool, try it out. And the look I gave was, I had long hair at the time. I normally had my hair braided, whatever like that. Man, I done took my hair loose, did the beach curls, you know what I'm saying? Had the curls in there. I'm talking about some looking like a old school 70s pimp, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? But I put a twist on it. So it still kind of had like a pimpish, coolish vibe, but I kind of turned it into a little street dude or whatever like that. So his vernacular was kind of like, urban or whatever. So she was cool with it, even with the wardrobe, everything kind of, I got with the wardrobe stylist, and we kind of put a little look together, whatever. So it was dope. But on set, everything was cool. I was in position. But when the premiere came and we looking at all this stuff, like I helped with special effects, and she did everything. I was her helper pretty much on this project. I helped with special effects. I helped with this, and I'm looking at my name coming up. So I said, okay, I don't want to sit in the front. So we had a packed out show. Everybody and their grandma were there. I'm talking. So we rented out a theater. We had like over 300 something plus people. We had like the theater hold 300 people, and we had like 330 in there. They putting chairs in the back. Everybody, and then we had a red carpet event, so people coming in there star-studded, had the hard bottom on. I'm talking about heels click clacking, walking through the door. You know what I'm saying? So it was really like, wow, like, okay, it's getting a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, oh, hey, all the AKAs, hey, what's up, Big John? I said, hey, what's going on? I said, man, let me find me a seat in the back. Man, I thought I was Rosa Parks. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to go all the way to the back of the bus. Goodness. No pun intended. Shout out to everything. That was something I wanted to do. So I said, yeah, let me sit myself in the back. I'm going back here. And when the scene came up, I remember that scoring came on, because, you know what I'm saying, my partner did a little scoring. I heard that music. I said, oh, here go my scene. Man, I slid down in that seat so easy. And I just looked, and I'm looking at folk, they leaning up forward like this. Man, I came in there and I seen them beach crowds. Oh, here we go. But the response was actually cool. A lot of people in the theater I didn't know. And a lot of people like, man, that character was cool or whatever. So afterwards, it was like, okay, people actually liked it. But the nervousness of it, you know what I'm saying? I get it. It's like, man, like, what are they going to think about this? Was the special effects kind of cheesy? Was this going on? That was this? And you just see the beginning and to the end, and you see where the start of the project was, where we meeting up. Also, like Q said, we meeting up in like Waffle Houses. You know what I'm saying? We went to the bougie Waffle House, though. We didn't go to the hood, you know what I mean? But we meet up at the Waffle House, and we kind of like going over our ideas, our notes, and it was just amazing. So, yeah, Q.
Yeah. And I think that's like, there's no like real description for that feeling when you can sit back and actually watch like everything put together. And to me, the best part is the audience reaction.
Yes.
Like to have them, especially from a writer standpoint, because like everything how you just kind of laid out is cool, but you got to take it back to me literally at Georgia State in the library on my laptop writing the story.
Yes.
So to go from literally being in my zone with my headphones on, writing this on my computer, to sitting in the theater with 300 plus people.
Hold on. Let's go into the rendition, because you did the first one from the story, and then kind of like adding these high expectations.
Right.
So you went and just took it up a notch, and made it bigger and bigger location, and everything was on you. So it's like so Q, the writer, Q, the director, and guess what? Like I told you, we were talking about a visual artist. Q filmed it, so she was the director. She wrote the story, she directed the story, and then she was the DP, and she did it. So when I say we were hands on, she like, okay, John, this, what about the drum? She had so many hats, and she had so many things that.
And let's not forget the editor.
Oh yeah.
That
hey,
scarred me.
Hold on. Whoa, yeah. Then everybody get to it. Shout out to our, we got, what I'm saying, our production manager in here, what I'm saying, because we were just gonna talk about that. Post production is a must. So we talking about the editing, and the editor. That's a hard job.
Yeah. Shout out to my roommates, because like just to kind of set the tone. And it's funny how everything flows, because this is when my living situation reflected the single life. That's what inspired the story of the single life. But I was living with two best friends, and shout out to them, because they were so understanding. Because when I was editing A Time for Love, I literally took over our dining room. The dining room was my editing suite. So it was nothing for them to come home. And mind you, we recorded this on mini DV tape. So I literally had the camera with the tapes. I had all these tapes stacked up. My computer, my hard drive, the script, all of this stuff on the table, just in the dark. They would come home and I'm in the dark 2:00 in the morning editing. And I think I called John a few times. I was over it. I wanted to quit.
Come on, bring it in. That was funny. That was
but we say all of this to say, like, a lot of work goes into film productions. And we know sometimes it's easy to watch a bad movie, and I'm using air quotes, because movies are subjective.
Most definitely.
But to watch a movie and judge it like, oh, this movie sucks. But from a standpoint behind the scenes, you got to kind of give respect, because it's a lot of work. And like John said, to be able to take a script from a piece of paper to film it, edit it, and actually put it out for people to see is a lot of work. So no, everybody's not going to like it, because, even with A Time for Love, most of the comments are pretty positive, like 98%, but we may have a small 2% of people who mainly didn't like it because of the ending, but we're not going to give away any spoilers.
But, okay.
It's true. Everybody's not going to like everything.
Of course. But I'm kind of like caught into that. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's certain things I know I don't like. I just, and we didn't really get into like internet trolls, but I want to kind of dive in that a little bit. It's like, it's certain things I know I don't like. And let's just get into let's talk about food a little bit real quick. We'll make this quick.
How you go from internet trolls to food?
No, we about to talk about food real quick.
Okay.
I'm a pescatarian, been a pescatarian for like over 6+ years. So I already know I'm not eating, pork, beef, chicken, what I'm saying, whatever like that. So why would I, go to like a hot dog restaurant and I'm in there talking trash? You don't even eat hot dogs, man. Get your out the go ahead on. So when you looking at a genre and you say, "Oh, I'm going Netflix," read the subtitle. Come on, read the
synopsis.
We say the synopsis, the little
description.
the description, the bio. What I'm saying, read what's about to happen. So I said, okay, love story, whatever. Like certain movies, I'm not about to watch. Certain sap type movies, and I say sap type like really super
sappy.
Yeah, super sappy. It's super like cliche. That's not for me. So I'm not gonna watch it. Then I'm doing all these comments like, oh, do you have something else to do? Find something positive and productive to do. So going back to like film, it's a lot of work to go into it. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you have some, positive to say, or even you have something, it don't have to be just positive, but you can have your ideas. But all that trash talking and this and that, like, man, find something good to do for real.
Yeah.
And even,
and that can be the same for any art. Because again, we're talking about all creatives here. So like if you're a fashion designer or if you have a clothing line and you spend, days working on new designs and then you put it out there and people trash it, like, one, don't let that stop you. And for two, like John said with the trolls, if you don't like it, just keep moving. Like there's a difference between constructive criticism and just hating.
And just hating and just talking junk. Like, man, it's like even certain movies. I mean, certain movies I'm not about to watch. I can look at it. I mean, let's talk about this. If you don't read the description, if you don't read the prelude or the bio or the synopsis or the summary of what is going on, watch the trailer. If the trailer look like trash, man, keep that thing moving, man. Moonwalk back on about the door where you came from. You don't have to look at it. Go find something else to do. But we'll move forward though, because that just kind of like just got to me, because I was reading comments and I'm talking about some people just don't even listen to certain things or they just talking. I'm like, man, but it's cool. This is a new age we in.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go into challenges. I think we talked about that. So,
well, we talked about my challenges, but for you, what would you say have been like the most challenging experiences you faced, or some, I don't want to say failures, but just challenges and obstacles that you probably had to overcome, like last week? And if you haven't listened to it, make sure you check out episode 3 of the podcast, where we did part 1 of working on set, and I shared some of my stories of some challenges I faced on set as a producer. So were there any moments, any situations that like really stand out for you, John, where it's like, oh man, I remember that moment?
It was a lot. So just to get into a couple, or even like I said, like I'm not trying to like bash anybody. I mean, you watch the podcast, you know who you are, but it's cool. My main thing is culture and climate on set. So when you're on a film set and you have a certain climate, and when I say climate, I mean like your aura, your energy on set, and you have like people who just bring a negative vibe. That's one of the challenges, because like I most of the time being a producer, being an assistant director, and just trying to control, like the flow of production, man, keep people motivated. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing a small budget production, or if you're doing a large budget, you're still paying people, but I can't be bought with money. If I come somewhere and I don't care if you're paying me $2 or you paying me $200 something plus dollar, $2,000, whether it could be big bread, whatever we talking about, it don't matter. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not gonna do it. Like, money can't make me. You know what I'm saying? So one of the biggest things, and I say challenges, will be negative energy on set. People who just create problems. Difficult people on set.
So how do you handle that? Because like we talked about, a producer is somebody that's at the top. You talked about the AD managing the flow of set, the environment, the atmosphere. How do you handle those situations when there's somebody difficult on set or bringing that negative energy?
I would say I don't look at it as a loss, but a lesson. Sometimes like, I don't know, this ain't even a proverb. I mean, this is like some old school people say, like, you fool me once, it's a shame on me, you fooled me twice. And man, first of all, you get me one good time and you put me in an uncomfortable situation, don't even worry about it. That's your first, your last, and your everything, because I'm not dealing with certain things. So part of the thing of it is it motivates me to learn and to do multiple be more like the jack of all trades. Is like to actually know a lot of stuff, to be a go-to person on set. One thing I want to talk about too, Q, is getting paid on projects, and pretty much being a contractor versus an employee, and like the difference and the obstacles. Cause I know I was just telling the story, and we were talking about like failures and challenges, and that's something big. If you're a contractor, like we were talking about, a bad set, it's different between contractor and employee.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're an employee, you can't just walk off set, So, and in the creative industry and the entertainment industry, film specific, most people work as contractors. So most people contract themselves out not to get too technical tax wise, but they'll get a 1099. They get paid directly for their services versus being an employee working for a production company. Now, when you go bigger scale, like Fox Studios and all of that, yeah, of course, they have employees, but they still may contract people out. But especially on the independent film scene, most people are contracted out. So it's kind of multi-layered, but to kind of bring it in, because when you talk about getting paid, there's so many different directions you can go in. The number one thing is to know your worth and to know how much to charge for your services.
Most definitely.
It of course depends on what your crew position is, and going back to those resources we talked about, Indeed and Glassdoor and Georgia Film, all of that stuff, you can look and see the postings and the rates that other people are doing, that have similar experience than you. So like, for example, as a sound person, right, you're a boom operator, you may have a day rate of $300. And so that's something that you want to communicate. And if that's your rate, that's your rate. Now, of course, production budgets may fluctuate. And like Jon mentioned before, if it's a project that you're really passionate about,
most definitely,
you read the synopsis and you're like, oh, I just really want to be a part of this. You may fluctuate a little bit and say, okay, I'll do it for $275 or whatever. But make sure that you're getting paid your worth and for the time. Because again, like we mentioned, set days can go from 10, 12, 14 hours, and most film contractors do get paid on a day rate.
Yeah, one flat rate.
Yeah, one flat rate. And a lot of times you can work out with the executive producer when you get paid. Some people like to get paid when they wrap that day, because you may be the sound guy for days 2, 4, and 6, and they may have another sound operator on set for days 1, 5, and 7. And so you want to make sure, okay, once I wrap, I want to go ahead and get paid today. Or if you're in another position where you're consistently there on set every day, you may not get paid until you wrap. And so you want to make sure that you're taking the responsibility to keep track of that. So you want to invoice the producers you're working for. Yeah, you can just send them a Cash App request. Hey, pay me the $1,500, but you want to be professional about it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you have your invoice, you have your contracts, your receipts. So
yeah, and contracts, right? We didn't start with that. So before, because you can have a verbal agreement, you want to have something in writing, even if it's just an email. So you may not have a standard professional document, that's dated and signed, but if you at least have something in email saying, I agree to work audio on this specific date at this specific rate, so that way, because that can be upheld as a written agreement.
And also, I know she was elaborating on audio, even definitely with makeup artists. I know it's multiple type of makeup artist. So you might be a special effects makeup artist and you're doing somebody where there's a scene where somebody's getting beat up, or like a fight scene where it's blood and kind of more gory a little bit, and you might need full glam where where it's like a real elegant type thing, and you might just need like a natural
and all of that can determine your rate, because if you're doing special effects makeup, you got to buy those supplies, you got to buy the blood,
most definitely.
You got to buy the stitches, the props, all of that stuff. So you want to take that into consideration when you set your rate for that.
Most definitely. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And like she said too, contractor versus employee. If it's something, a group of people that you definitely want to work with or kick it with, and it's good reviews, good vibes, and you may even come in as a contractor, where like a lot of sets I worked on, I'm usually a contractor because I work in conjunction with, or in a association, or like a collaboration with that person, where I bring in my production company along with theirs, and we kind of work a thing out.
Yeah. And the main difference is, again, as an employee, you're issued a W-2. So that means the people that you're working for have a legitimate business, right? So it's not Joe Blow from the corner and saying, hey, you're my employee because I said so. Like, no, they have to have a legitimate business. There's certain...
Yeah, come on, that's funny.
There's certain paperwork you have to do, versus a contractor, you can just have that written. I don't want to say just, but you have that written agreement. And then if you're getting paid a certain amount, it's your job to pay your taxes, right? So an employee is going to withhold taxes from you. A contractor, they're not going to withhold taxes. They're just going to pay you whatever that pre-tax amount is. And it's your responsibility, however you do your taxes, whatever you do, is The IRS don't play, but you want to make sure that you list out, your income and that you're paying your taxes appropriately. We're going to wrap up this week's episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, send us questions, send us feedback. We definitely want to hear from you. Also, make sure you listen to this podcast on all of the available platforms. It is now available on the Anchor app, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a few more apps. So there's no excuse. There's all type of ways to listen to this podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and share. As Jon always says, his favorite word, share, share, share.
Yep. And also, too, if you would like to be a guest on the show, hey, you can hit us up on our social media pages. You can hit us up on Instagram. Hit her up on Facebook. But
don't hit me up on Facebook. He tried it. Y'all can hit me up on Instagram too, QDD_7. Also, my business page is at QUp Productions.
Most definitely. And you can hit me up on Instagram as Jonathan_D_Harris. And you can also hit me up on my business page, which is Monarch Mentality Productions. And hey, let's do it. So you like to be a guest on the show, and it doesn't matter, even if you're not in the film industry, you could be in any creative industry. And
and creative can also be subjective. So, if you sew mittens, that's something creative. Of course, we want interesting people with something to actually share and bring to the audience. So, no offense to people who knit mittens, but
crochet shouter, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast, and we will catch you next time.
Much love. See you next time.